Don't have much to talk about this week as the shows were mostly fight scenes. Was there some type of sweeps this week that would endear people to tune in massively for that? I mean, I know it's just before the early season mecha super combination for Sentai, as has become commonplace over the years, but it's like I guess I can kind of equate that more to Ghost's pacing problems in how there's really little story relevant stuff that happens as it's mostly just two fight scenes. I think it doesn't have much impact, so I guess I'm going to be a bit brief here. Um, with Zyuohger, Yamato tries to get everybody out of the house and also not checking for the champion symbol thing. I'm the king's credential. The names keeps flipping wherever I look. Um, Mainly relating to Sela being depressed about the whole thing with her family from last episode, which is good continuity and good carryover for that. So he wants to take them to the beach so, they can have a day off. The beach is considered relaxing for some. The sand, it gets everywhere. That is, however, diverted by Genis sending down his own present for the Zyuohger due to them doing so well in the game thus far. And making them good challengers for this entertainment for the group. And his gift is called Gift. It's a giant robot. Well, okay, it becomes a giant robot eventually. It just, is a normal-sized robot. And it freaks all of the Zyuohger out because so far they've been able to sense the Deathgalians because of a sense of bloodlust. And now this is advanced technology that's not a sentient being and does not radiate a intent to attack people so much. So it's like if they weren't directly attacked by it and the other forces, it would have completely passed them by, which is generally not a good thing with your heroes. So yeah, they get their asses handed to them. It goes giant after their attacks pretty much fail to really affect it. And then the mechs get their asses handed to them, as kind of expected for this kind of setup. There's then an extended fight with the Mooks, and as the episode ends, because it was surprisingly fast-paced this week, despite, fight scene. It ends with the return of the Kyondor Zyuman, Masato Kusaka. Yeah, Kohei Murakami's playing him, and I've been looking forward to this. And it's like he helps save Yamato from a fall, and then he's just suddenly there. And the episode kind of ends with that. I'm hoping we get a bit more of coverage on that, because today a bunch of Zyuohger preview material for mechas and the like got showcased, and we now have learned that Yamato is getting another form, a Zuo whale form that is geared, kind of going to homage Mega Man in how that the transformation dice is a cube that latches over his arm like a Mega Buster would. And, that's kind of interesting. So, the question is whether Kohei Murakami's character, the guy who plays Masato Kusaka, is playing the bird Zooman, is going to elaborate on how Yamato's powers, or the ability to mix the Zoomans like the abilities of Zoomans like he is, through his eagle transformation and his gorilla transformation, pretty much explain why he can do that while he's a human. I mean, is the reason that the others can't amalgamate with the powers of other humans is it would not work on them because they're already part beast, or would it be lethal to them in the same way that Larry and Kohei Murakami's character have had their life shortened by helping out Yamato? It's an interesting question, and also something that would probably also need to be answered for Zyuoh the World, since he has 3 animal alignments as well: rhino, wolf, and crocodile, which will also be being showcased soon. While I'm talking about that news, I liked a bunch of the preview details. It's like silly and ludicrous in the best ways, which is kind of Sentai's thing. With some of the showcased mecha combination stuff, which I liked, yes and no. Yeah, look it up for yourselves. It's kind of interesting for design artwork. Probably look better in action, though. So yeah, next week we're going to have a super mecha combination, which, yeah, it's not unexpected for this time of the year. Ghost gets everyone back to the Gamma world again, and we see that the Emperor is a bit delusional, though not in the mad kind of way, in that he sees the best in people, so he doesn't understand, intent. He literally has a blind spot for Adele's actions in his quest for power and to shape the utopia his father created to his own will, as the Emperor is kind of actually oblivious to the actual state of his realm. I should say he's not so much oblivious, it's just that he's too kind to conceptualize the atrocity his world is committing, I guess. Because from what is given of him before he dies, spoilers, he dies in this episode, he doesn't seem like the kind of person that would initiate the attacks on Earth as, done that. It's like, it more fit with the earlier descriptive modus operandi. We're from another country, we're here to help you, kind of thing. Which I guess kind of showcases the divide in doctrine and execution, in that he's actually a very Takeru-like character, with his kindness and reaching out to people, and he dies because Adele is a bastard who only wants power and has been twisted by the reality of this dystopia versus the purported utopia. And I don't even really know where to begin with that, since I've kind of discussed it in pieces all over the place. Point is, Auron's having his reality of his world shattered, helped along by when he goes into the chambers of people in stasis, he sees one of the stasis chambers glow red, and then the person in it dissolves. So it's like calling back to Takeru ranting and raving at him the episode he got the Grateful Damashi form, about how he was lying about the state of his own world. And maybe you should have, followed up on that, had Takeru explain himself better, instead of just shouted at them one time and then flash back to think, oh my god, he was totally right about this thing he was ranting and raving me about hysterically. Yeah, that's not exactly a good thing. I like that they actually followed up on it immediately when they got back, instead of, diversions. But, you're not building a good dynamic between them if you only have them in battle and then just short segments with key dialogue. Once again, we're mostly fight scene here with Takeru using Grateful Damashi twice, both of them against Ganma, and I kind of have to credit them some kind of surrealism on the cinematography. I think they used a different camera for the shots here because it's not consistent with what has been expected the last few years with Kamen Rider. It's like, it feels like they used an older camera here from the earlier Showa era, not earlier Showa era, earlier Heisei era, like Agito Ryuki Fai's, around that much, with how it wasn't overstressing the vividness, but more trying to capture all the motions of everything in the darkened atmosphere of the Gamma world, or at least what they were using as the Gamma world, as I'm pretty sure they were in some type of parking structure, like how barren it looked and was darkly lit, so it was a bunch of Ganma against a ghost in a dark corridor. And since many of the suits are black, or at least with black undertones, it's like you can't make out the details as well, but from the little light you do have, and with how shiny the suits are, and by shiny I mean glossy. If you shine a light on it, there will be a bit of a sign of a reflection off of it, and that helps make out enough detail so it's not like everything was blending together in the darkness. I'm talking about this because I feel like it's good accenting if albeit the vibe is inconsistent with the show. It kind of gives a creepy atmosphere that makes it kind of engaging for the most part, even though there was like issues with shots. I'm actually going to try and pull up the episode now to see who directed this, and if it ends up being, I think it is Kyohei Yamaguchi. Ooh, this is actually a newer director. He might have done something. I take that back. Not a newer director. He's been on here since the Neo Heisei began, but he's only directed a few episodes a series, which is probably why. DVD special camera. Oh, he was one of the directors for the Young Odette movies. So, actually, that's consistent and fits very well with what was going on here, because they kind of used the same type of camera shots and quick angles that actually made that kind of engaging. Good on him then. Ghost this time summons Himiko and Ryoma, which I'm not sure if there was a central thematic there aside from notable Japanese individuals, which, hey, you could summon half of Ghost's arsenal with that prerequisite. But yeah, they don't really save Makoto at all this episode. He kind of saves himself, as by the time they get to his pod, he's already out of it and stumbling around. And here's where we get the thing with Sage again. Minister Edith. And how there's this. Well, we're pretty sure by this point he has to be Senin that empowered Takeru for whatever reason, even though he acts completely different from the other character, and he has his own motives and objectives since he created the Icon drivers and the Ghost driver and the Mega Loader, and now he has a new icon for Spectre that he was going to give to Takeru for powers. We're not exactly sure on the relevance to it yet. It's kind of just another normal milestone there that's getting touched on next episode. And it's like, they have a relationship that we have not been privy to because the show's kind of haphazard with its backstory elements. But hopefully we will get some type of elaboration, proper elaboration. Please, soon. I'm begging you at this point. It's like, it's a long-standing mysterious tease, and it's so in your face that, come on, why haven't you just given us it at this point? And I'm beginning to not care. It might just be being tired, but, Adele's part in this, of course, aside from his power rush, is, he's awoken the 15 Ganmaizers, which we're pretty sure is the Ganma world's equivalent to the heroic icons, but having been slaved to whatever system they have set up in the Ganma world for the preservation of their utopia. And they all take the form of Adele because he's power mad. And we're pretty sure they're also what prevented Takeru from getting his wish. So it's like, they're united under one person's will because they have none of their own, or their power, their will has become just their power, versus Takeru uniting the souls so they're all more powerful than they could ever be individually. I think that's the symbolism they're going for here with the army of one versus one-man army kind of setup. Like I said, they all take Adele's form, and from that, presumably, he is aligned with his mode of thinking. But because of Adele, the Emperor does die, and then vanishes into a poof of dust, which... why? I mean, is that what happens to dead people in the Ganma world? Well, admittedly, it is what happens to those that are in the stasis pods, but I figure that the stasis pods are sucking something out of their bodies which causes that, not that they dissolve all on their own. It's like, we're pretty established now that the Ganma are not actually spirits, they're souls in travel machines that can manifest their own bodies. It's scientific application for a meta-spiritual concept. I guess that makes sense, just sounding it out. So yeah, once again, we're left with more questions that I think are just leading into the next action scene. But this kind of ended on a high this week because of Garo Mkai Retsuden. And this one was the meeting between Amily and Jinga. Now, if you'll remember from last year, Amily and Jinga were the antagonists of Garo Goldstorm. They were a former Mkai knight and priest that had become possessed by horrors after they pretty much broke from sanity after a village they were helping with horror attacks violently murdered their son. Yeah. So this was a story about how Jinga and Amily met, and not exactly how they became a couple, but how that meeting would end up influencing each other through what is presumed to be interactions following that. And it pretty much comes from Amily being part of a troop of Mkai priests that were delivering a bundle of some type of magic beast hide. I am blanking on the name off the top of my head. Please don't bring up in the comments. I'm pretty sure that I'm just blanking on the actual name. And, it's not like it's going to be a big concept that's going to be beat into our heads over and over again, where the reiteration of it is kind of my brain not sticking on it. Yes. So anyways, because they're trying to bring this to a village that needs this resupply, because the hair from that is what helps the Mado brushes of the priests work correctly, they get ambushed by other Mkai beasts. Not quite horrors, but not exactly... I guess it would be best to call them spirit denizens, as I'm legitimately blanking on the names of these specific beasts. So yeah, when they're attacked, Jinga comes in and saves them, but it doesn't actually say it's Jinga for some reason. They just refer to him as God's Fang, because that is what his name literally translates as when you're going by the kanji. If you're going by the kana sounds, it's Jinga with a J, which refers to the subtext of him just being a person, a contradiction in terms. This was actually a thing brought up in Rurouni Kenshin, where if you change the kanji slightly, it's the same word, but you pronounce it the same, but it has a different meaning. It's like, yeah. Anyways, it kind of fits too with how Masahiro Inoue is definitely pulling off the Decade-esque swagger ego, which I gotta admit worked pretty well for what they were doing with the episode. Because Amily, as it turns out, when they first met, was kind of a doormat and lacking in confidence of her abilities. And what I think is being implied by her not having a specific specialty or thing she's good at as a Mkai priest, and her fellow priests, or at least the lesser ones, kind of looking down on her for it. But as Jinga notes in the battle, that Amily as a priest was already putting others over herself, like trying to help her comrades how she could in the heat of a battle, and he saw that as something worthy of trying to help bring out, because that is someone you can trust to have your back and not falter, which is a good element that matches what would be a consistent element from Goldstorm, and how Jinga and Amily, the poor possessed ones, were a undeniably powerful team, especially in concert with each other, with how in sync and matched they were. And the heroes, while united in their cause and beliefs, weren't quite there, not just simply because of unfamiliarity with being in combat with the others for so long. Not for so long, for such a short period in comparison. I need to stop saying The way he helps bring that out, though, is after one of Amely's companions is injured and the bundle of fur is taken by one of the beasts, he orders her to come with him, and that's mainly because of, well, it was her job to get the fur to its location, so, completing your initial mission, and second, he's a knight, and knights are kind of higher up in this hierarchy. Plus, backup is always a wise thing. But it eventually works, because she eventually does stand up and defy him in the best of ways, and that being when he ends up in over his head against the last of the creatures, and is pinned against a tree with it digging into his... I think I heard the squelching sounds of pierced flesh, but yeah, that worked for me, because, he's in mortal danger, so yeah, screw what he says, I'm going to go help him kind of moment, which, in hindsight, not hindsight, after the event, you see her having a kind of slightly difference in personality, not so much more confident in herself, but more self-assured in what she's doing. And especially when Jinga actually reveals that was kind of the entire point, know when to defy someone, know when to stand up for yourself, that kind of thing. Garo, the armor, did not actually appear in this episode, which is unfortunate, as this might have been able to tie together a lingering plot thread from series before it. To my knowledge, I apologize if I'm getting this wrong. Please try not to be so pedantic about it in the comments. Again, I keep getting bad messages about things that I'm not actually getting wrong. Anyways, we don't really know what corrupt... To my knowledge, we didn't... I've not seen Yami wo Tarasu Mono to know this, but we're not quite certain what corrupted the Garo armor in as a predecessor to that, which would require it to be purified over the events of that series to regain its golden shine. So, as a twist, what if Jinga was the previous wielder of Garo? I mean, it's not exactly like there's a set timeline after Raiga where Ryuga would get the armor, so, wouldn't it make sense that the Garo armor rejected him as a candidate user after being corrupted by and possessed by a horror? And it's not like the first time that a armor has been rejected or stolen from its user, so I feel that could work. And I'm just grasping at straws here, but it would. I feel if that would be a twist to it, then it would have added another layer to the Ryuga Jinga dynamic that made Goldstorm fun to watch, albeit with how short and over-focused on that storyline it was for its serialization. I'm curious if Masahiro Inoue and the woman who played Amily will be back for more tales in Mkai Retsuden, as I feel they kind of have more to tell to this backstory, because it didn't feel like needless content at all. Okay, it is ultimately unnecessary to Goldstorm's story, where they were the antagonists, but it's like last week, it's follow-up with a previously important character that, as a fan, you can appreciate. In the middle of review work stuff, so I'm going to try and get through Tiga next week. And I've got some new stuff up on YouTube, got some old stuff up on Daily Motion, finally. I apologize, I get busy, I forget this stuff. And I will be back next week for Wild Zyuohger and Deep Spectre, and whatever Garo has up for it. See ya.